Hello, my most amazing 4G artists. We are going to spend a moment right now reviewing the elements of art, which we have been practicing, and then we're going to look at some more artwork by Winslow Homer, the artist that we looked at last week. So let's get ready, get your hands ready for the chant, and we will do the elements of art. All right, let's go ahead and do it together. Ready? Line, shape, color, baby, color, form, value, texture, space. All right, so those are the 7 elements that we are going to be talking about as we look at some more of Winslow Homer's artwork. Winslow Homer was born in 1836 and he died in 1910. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, so that makes him an American artist. And it was his mother who taught him to draw and paint. So he didn't have very much formal training. He didn't go into any fancy art schools. The next thing I want you to remember is that he got a job illustrating for a magazine called Harper's Weekly. So here's another picture that shows that. It says here that he was working as an apprentice to a lithographer. Later, he became an illustrator when he was 21 years old. Here are a couple of the illustrations he made for Harper's Weekly, and these show, of course, the Civil War, which we talked about last week. This one is called The Army of the Potomac, a sharpshooter on picket duty, and this one is a painting that he did in 1863 later called Home Sweet Home. Now, his most famous painting from the Civil War is called Prisoners from the Front, and it was painted in 1866. So now I want you to look at this one, and we'll talk a little bit about the elements of art. So let's talk first about color. How does Winslow Homer use color to draw attention to any of the people in the painting? If you look carefully at this spot right here, you can see that the dark color of that uniform is making him stand out from the background. You can see that he uses these neutral colors in the background to make it kind of fade into the distance. You can barely tell that there's horses and men back here because they're all painted with those neutral colors. All right, and then the last thing for this painting I want you to notice is space. I mentioned that space is created in a few different ways in artwork. And one way that it can be created is that the things that are closer to you, like the men, are bigger. And the things that are further away are smaller, like the men in the distance here, or this flag way back here. You can see a horizon line, so you know the things back here are very far away. So those are all tricks for showing space in a painting. All right, it says that Winslow Homer went on some travels. He visited many places during his lifetime. These places were represented in his artwork. So this one now is showing some of the scenes that he painted while by the ocean. So he was painting a fisherman's family here. It's called Dad's Coming. All right, the next one is a pretty popular painting. I've seen this one many times. This one is called Breezing Up, a Fair Wind. And so we would call this maritime art. Maritime means anything to do with the sea or sailing. And so you can see here that he creates danger and suspense and drama with some of the color choices he made. So he's got these dark waves, and then he's got the bright white in the clouds, but then the clouds also have some dark in them, so it looks kind of stormy. You can see that the wind is filling up the sail here, and so their boat is kind of tipping over a little bit, and it looks a little bit dangerous. All right, the other thing I want you to notice here when we look at the elements of art is shape. Can you find some shapes that are recognizable? I see that on the hats, you can see kind of a circular shape. And when you look at the sails in the background here on this boat, you can just see like some simple triangle type shapes that would be the sails to make it recognizable. All right, this one is called The Sick Chicken. This was when he started using watercolors. This was in 1873. And before that, watercolors were kind of considered to be like an amateur type of medium to use. If people were painting in watercolors, they weren't taken as seriously. But it became a respectable medium in the mid-1860s. And so Winslow Homer liked that he could produce and sell them quickly, and then he could make more money for his career. So this one right here shows a few interesting things with the elements of art. I want you to notice that if there's any lines that you can see. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's see if you can find some vertical lines. Vertical. Ah, yeah, I see in the porch here, there's definitely some vertical lines with these columns or pillars there. You can also see some lines that crisscross in the window. You can see some going horizontally and vertically. All right, and then I want you to notice real quick the idea of value. Whenever an artist paints clothing, they really need to show lots of different values. For example, on her apron, we know the apron is probably just kind of a tan or brownish color, but in that apron, to make it look realistic, Winslow Homer uses all sorts of different values of that brownish color, all the way from white to black. So you can see it's almost like a dark black in the folds, and then it's a bright white where the light is shining on it. And then there's every tone in between throughout that apron. I love using value. When you can start recognizing value, then you can really start painting things to look more realistic. Okay, so here's a couple more. These are showing some rural scenes and farm life. This one is called The Milkmaid. Very lovely. And this one is called Fresh Eggs. So again, I want you to notice the different values that you see. Look at this tree back here. You can see bright white, these parts here where the sun is probably just twinkling off those leaves. You can see these dark, dark greens up here, and then every shade of green in between. And then you can also notice that in this haystack over here, you've got the dark, dark browns and the bright whites and every color of the yellowish hay in between. All right, this one, I think I might have showed you this one last week. I can't remember, but I love this one. It says, although he never married or had children of his own, Homer loved painting them in outdoor settings. So that's just kind of a fun painting of a couple of kids climbing over a fence. And this one, I know I showed you last week. This one's called Snap the Whip. We will keep moving. All right, and then it says that Homer went to spend 20 months in the fishing village of Cullercoats, England, by the North Sea. And so that's where he did some of his most beautiful work of pictures that show life by the sea. Here's another one called Incoming Tide, and this one is when he moved back to Maine, where, of course, there's a lot of scenery by the sea as well, by the ocean. So I just wanted to end with this one right here. This one's called The Fog Warning. He painted this in 1885. You can see here a fisherman kind of looking up at the skies, trying to decide if there's danger ahead or if he's okay to be out there. And it kind of gives you that feeling of drama with the dark waves. And look at those big fish in his boat. Do you see them? I wonder if those are halibut. I went fishing for halibut in Alaska one time and caught a big fish like that. That is amazing. I can't imagine catching a big fish like that out of a tiny boat like he's in. Oh, the drama. Love it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed looking at some more of Winslow Homer's work. His paintings to me are just marvelous. I hope you enjoyed them as well.